There's a lot of AI buzzword right now in the industry. A lot of noise. It can get overwhelmed for founders because we're like, oh, we have to do this. Oh, look, this company has created this new stuff. And it's important to stay grounded on what your mission and what you're trying to solve. AI is a tool the same way JavaScript is a tool, the same way email is a tool. You don't have to put AI in everything.
That's right.
There are some things like AI by definition allows you to do it, but like, do you need to reinvent every little thing? I don't believe so.
Marc, welcome to the Teche Talks podcast. This is the second time we're doing this in OnPod Studios. So shout out to onpod.io.
Amazing venue here.
Yeah, it's a great setup, right?
Yeah.
It's automatic. It's like an autopilot. You come in and you set yourself up and you just push start it. So it's great.
Yeah,
you know?
and we have like good coffee.
Yeah,
so like,
yeah. Cheers, man.
Great company. Cheers.
So yeah, I mean, this is like I said, the second time I'm recording in the OnPod Studios, and I'm like, I need to find the ideal guest for that, someone building something incredible, and we've been talking for, a couple of months now, right?
Yeah.
We met through a mutual friend and actually a clinic that is probably already using your tool. We're going to get into it, so I know that you're in the space of building AI call centers for clinics, right? And prior to that, your previous life was you were a lawyer.
Yeah.
What kind of lawyer?
Yeah, so it's funny. First, thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you for your patience because I had my little girl, so we had to postpone.
Yes, congratulations. Man.
So now I'm kind of having two babies at the same time, my startup and also my little girl. Yeah. So actually, before being a lawyer, I started my career in a big company I was doing content for B2B conferences, high levels.
Okay.
And then I switched to sales. I always felt like I was good at selling stuff.
Yeah.
And they kind of like promoted me to the sales department. So I started doing sales for about 2.5 years in the big company.
Right.
So like big accounts, account management, making sure revenue comes.
Yep.
And then I got the opportunity to join as the first sales guy in a startup they were raising their pre-seed money. So I joined there as like senior account manager, making sure like the business development across Canada was being made.
Amazing.
So I kind of did the leap of faith in a startup environment pretty early on in my career. I was 24, 25.
Nice.
And I lived the growth of a VC-backed company. So when I joined, I was employee number 2. When I left, we were about 85 in 3 different offices, one in Paris, one in Switzerland, and one in Montreal.
Wow.
And in Toronto, we had like a small office. So I really, really enjoyed, but at this time, I felt like something was missing in my life in terms of like achievement.
Yeah.
And it was like this like lawyer calling that has always been here since the end of my CJEP.
Yeah.
So I decided to leave the startup after almost 2 years and went back to school. So it was funny because it was like really a transition between like I was selling like hundreds of thousands of dollars and like talking with VPs and everything. And I went back to school with like...
Yeah. You're a college kid at that point.
Yeah, college kid, partying and like meeting with like younger people. And it was amazing. I did my law degree in 2.5 years.
Okay.
I did it like I was more in a focused way, I wasn't just like here to like see what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to do, get my degree as quick as possible, learn as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then I transitioned into a big law firm that is called Davies. They're the best in transactional law. So essentially one company purchases another. There's M&A, financing, stuff like this. Mm-hmm. So I stayed there 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is like how it started, my kind of...
Right. That's so interesting because you're explaining your story and I'm just thinking of, I'm blanking out on this name now, the CEO of Shopify, right? Who talks about how his mentor got him, I might butcher this, but his mentor got him to get into law because he was still trying to find his calling, but he also wanted that tool that gave him that extra edge as an entrepreneur, right? So I don't know if that kind of thought process, if you were looking at getting into law, that, maybe I'm just acquiring some skills that I'm still going to get back into entrepreneurship at some point. Was that your thought process?
It was 100%. I always knew like the entrepreneurship call was my call.
Okay.
I like selling a vision, creating a product, working with amazing people around me.
Yeah.
But you're right that going into law taught me a lot of things that I would never like. The Marc before law and the Marc after law was a different Marc. I worked in like very high pressured file with very short timeline with a lot of different stakeholders. And you have to stay with your head like as fresh as possible because you have to make quick decisions, a lot of quick decisions in a day, and with a lot of touch points, right? And this is kind of the same thing. If you think about it, it's kind of the same thing you're doing as a founder of a company, because the moment you're like hiring, you have to take a decision. Can I hire him? Can I pay him in 3 months? Then you're like, okay, what's the next feature we have to build? And then you have a problem, there's a bug, and then your sales lead calls you and says, hey, I'm not interested anymore. Like, can you do a price, a discount? So you have a bunch of hats that you like all day. You're like pulling one hat, putting another hat. So I think the lawyer training helped me a lot on this front.
Amazing. Yeah, no, I mean, like talking about that gives me chills because, in terms of, my company, Teacher Consulting, that we work with clinics, we're slowly pivoting into the product side of things. And so, I'm starting to hire now, so I've been looking for a technical co-founder and, I'm going to look for operations and strategy and all the whole 9 yards, right? And so to an extent, I'm starting to see that you just go into war every day. And, so I'm still very early stages to even have that experience in the startup field, but
I'm sure you'll do great, man. Like you have it in your blood. You've been in the field, and I think this is important. It's be connected to like what your customers are living, what your potential customers might be living shortly.
That's right. Yeah, because right now there's just so much potential with AI, right? And I talk to a lot of potential team members, people I'm trying to hire, and when I meet them and they're saying, "Hey, I've been working on this project where I'm building this automated workflow to solve XYZ problem. Well, I'm doing this." They're all over the place, right? Because there's so many different tools and there's so endless possibilities. But what I found is they don't always have domain knowledge. Like if you're in insurance, it'll be nice to know exactly the pain points, know what they're struggling about. But in our case, we're talking about healthcare, right? So why did you choose healthcare?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. Just to get back about the AI stuff, because it's important. There's a lot of AI buzzword right now in the industry, a lot of noise. All right. So it can get overwhelmed for founders because we're like, oh, we have to do this. Oh, look, this company has created this new stuff. And it's important to stay grounded on what your mission and what you're trying to solve, because we can get lost very easily in like, oh, let's add this like fluffy AI stuff because maybe a customer might like it, AI is a tool the same way JavaScript is a tool, the same way email is a tool. You don't have to put AI in everything.
That's right.
Some things are very powerful with AI and can never be replaced, right? Like there are some things like AI by definition allows you to do it, but like, do you need to reinvent every little thing? I don't believe so, because it can get very frustrating for the customer if you're like reinventing stuff that has been working. Why reinvent something that is not broken?
That's right.
But yeah, that's important because I read so many things on LinkedIn, and I've been talking with other founders, including we're incubated right now at the Asset, which is the incubation and accelerator from the Sherbrooke University.
Amazing.
So there's a lot of talks right now about AI, and it can get like a bit
overwhelming.
Overwhelming,
exactly. Especially for people who don't fully understand. Because primarily people who watch or listen to this, well, hopefully, are physicians and clinicians, or people in the healthcare space or health tech vendors. And before we even go any further, what solution are you providing? Because we talked about the fact that you build an AI call center tool, which helps clinics in so many different ways. But for anyone who is just like, guys, just get to the point, so what is it exactly what problem are you solving for these clinics?
So we're not. I just want to make sure for the audience that we are building tools that help their staff manage more volume in a better way. we're not trying to replace their secretaries. All right. I think the job of the secretary will evolve in the next years. But essentially, the problem we're tackling right now is that we've realized that patient and clinic communication could be phone, could be email, could be text, could be whatever medium they're using, is getting very complicated for clinics or operators, health operators to manage.
Right.
There's so many expectations on the client side that like you need to act quickly, you need to answer quickly in the fashion way. And right now, that's not the experience patients are receiving, not because health providers do not want to offer this. It's just they're overwhelmed. They're receiving hundreds of calls every day. They're limited on staff. There's a turnover that is happening a lot in this kind of profession in like the front desk. And costs are rising. So there's like this kind of dilemma that they're like, okay, I have more and more needs. I have less and less budget or way arounds to fix this. And this is where we're like trying to fix this very specific gap in the industry. And yeah, I think we're onto something. It's a journey where
Yeah, no, I mean, it's very important, to clarify that, you're not here to replace roles. I mean, if you're building tools to replace roles, like do what you have to do, right? But your mission here is just to help clinics with volume. Right. And is it a specific niche of clinics? Is it private clinics, RAMQ clinics, gynae? Like is there any specialty? Like who are your ideal clients that, if someone listening to this and is thinking, would his tool help me? Like what should they be thinking about when it comes to your solution?
So right now we're talking with people or with clinics that have a volume problem or that have I would say, discontinuation of service problem, which means like, okay, my phone can ring between 8 and 4, but after that, ciao bye, try to leave a voicemail, good luck. This is like the first like criteria we're trying to solve. Then right now we're a startup, so we can't tackle the entire healthcare. And there are some people out there, they're like, I want to do everything for every healthcare provider. Good luck. It's going to be impossible. So we're tackling right now the private, especially like everything related to like allied healthcares, which is like physios, osteo, kine, all like services that are around doctors, I would say, or primary care.
Right.
Why? Because those are high volume, specific, but the services are pretty determined.
Right.
You asked me earlier why I went into this, and I just want to do a kind of loop back because it's important to know. My wife is a doctor practitioner, and this is how I discovered this problem. She often come at home and said like, oh my God, I got like 2 no shows and I got like a last minute cancellation. And then when I asked the patient, they said they left a voicemail, but nobody saw the voicemail. And or the other is I stayed like 25 minutes on the call, but no one answered and the line dropped. And this is where I discovered that the problem isn't the communication. It's the compounding effect of communication. Managing one call is not a problem. You can manage one call and call back your friend. But if you have 200 friends calling you at the same time, good luck.
Right.
This is the problem we're tackling.
That's, I mean, a lot of, because I was going to ask you what one of the problems that you've seen across these clinics. And I think that's a fair example to use, right? There's this problem of no-shows. You're not necessarily looking, sure, you can get to a point where you're equipping your staff with these tools that they can answer more calls and you can hire more physicians and health professionals and so on. But at the same time, having a tool like yours that helps them solve that no-show problem. It's not just important. Let's put the physicians or the clinicians aside for the patients, right? So if I'm a patient, we talk about AI here and I'm building AI tools myself, and implementing a lot in clinics. But sometimes if I remember I booked a trip to, Dominican Republic a while back. And, this was through Expedia and I was having some issues. And so my fiance was like, why don't you call them, So I went to the site and I clicked on their chat, so I was talking to the chat and, I knew there was AI and I'm like, I just want to speak to someone, just put me in touch with someone. But the way they structured that and the questions that the chatbot was asking me made me realize, okay, I think we can really get to a solution faster with you. So I was patient, and we went through it. And then it got to a point where they needed access to my account and someone, so a human in the loop.
Exactly.
Right. So I'm imagining that there's, to some extent, there's a process in a place for you where, yes, you're solving the no-show issue, but you still need if your call center agent is taking up the messages from the patients, the secretary needs to look at it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I believe in this human in the loop because there are some things that will always be required. And one of the things is having a smile when you get into a clinic and having someone tell you like, hey, good morning, how are you doing today? This will never be replaced by AI. And I believe in the customer experience. By the way, the name of my company is called Walaw. It's a Lebanese expression that is essentially translating into you're welcome. So the whole philosophy of our company is customer experience. And if you look at the structure of the name of the company, Walaw can be read in two ways. Yeah. And that's where we're trying to do, regardless where the patients or the clinic meet, it's always a seamless experience. And this is what we're trying to build. And your example is right. Some things required human in the loop. Yeah. Some things are easy to fix. Like, for example, 20% of calls we've been receiving is like around general information. Do you have parking? What time do you open? Can I get earlier? Do you have space for my kid? Stuff that can be easily answered by AI, right? Yeah. You're already removing 20% of volume by not changing anything in the structure of the company or the clinic, right? Yeah. So this is the type of stuff we're doing right now. And we're really focusing on very specific flows and getting very deep into those, very, very deep into those. Okay. This is how we're winning the market, I think.
Amazing. I mean, you have to, I guess that's a great strategy, right? You find one specific problem and try to solve it, and then you can scale from there.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I think it's so important to be able to address the customer side of things, which is the patients, I should say. Yes, you could be solving a problem for the clinics, but how is this being perceived by the patients? Yeah. Right? Have you started to gather some statistics or just feedback? Yeah. Feedback from the patients of some of your clients to say, you know what, this tool is terrible. I just wanted to speak to someone, or actually I was able to leave a message and someone got back to me, or I got the answer that I wanted. I was just trying to find out if you were open the next day, right? Yeah. So have you started getting that kind of feedback from patients?
Yeah, so what we want to do is we've been doing this in a more insightful, informal way, talking directly with the user, and patients. Right now, what we want to do is automate this. And every time someone calls the clinic, they receive, for example, a text asking them to rate the experience or send a feedback if they don't like it. This way, we're really able to start to measure experience. Yeah. But the important part is that we are fighting against such a terrible experience right now that anything that we're doing is improving it, right? Yeah. We're not the experience. I was in the metro a week ago, and there was this young woman talking with someone on the phone, and she was like, I was 20 minutes before on the call with my clinic. I stayed there for 20 minutes. And then when they opened the line, I stayed there for 15 minutes. Yeah. And when the receptionist answered, she told me, sorry, no more calls. It's so frustrating. And she said, do I need to go to the emergency to have a prescription for my allergy? Right. And when you think about it, it's a problem. It's a systemic problem because this woman, she doesn't need to go to the emergency, but there's an operational problem there of connecting tools and dots here, right? So do you need maybe to call? No, because call right now is the only medium. But if you go and you have a widget and a chat, and you can chat and ask someone to call you back when you're available, you give your availability, already you can open other channels that are helping the patient.
Yeah, no, I think it's that's good because it is a chain reaction, right? So it doesn't just end at the clinic level or the patient level. Well, if they don't get the service, then they get to go to the emergent. Then you have that issue, right? Where it's being handled at a higher level. We don't need to get into, but I think it's there's no secret that telephones or communication with clinics and patients have always been a very big issue, right? And you're not going to hire a bunch of receptionists and secretaries just to handle those calls, because then your payroll is, just goes through the roof, right? Whether you're a semi-private, private or public clinic, like, you still want to stay profitable in some sense,
100%.
right? And so it's good that you're starting to get these feedback from patients as to whether they like the service or not. We've done a lot of implementation of, say, AI Scribe, and we've gotten patient feedback too. And it's usually less than 20% of people who say, no, I'm not interested, right? And are you starting to get a sense of the perception of the public in terms of patients, if they like this tool?
Yeah, so we've been live with our customers for about 5 months now. Okay. So live is like implemented with like agents on the ground answering 24/7, day and night. Okay. We're handling thousands of different calls every month. And the feedback that their clinics are receiving are really positive, because we're helping. Our model is kind of B2B to C, in the sense that, or B2B to P, clinic to patient.
Yep.
So we are helping the clinics handle more calls more efficiently in a better way. Mm-hmm. And then we are giving this tool to their patients. So we have feedbacks directly also from their team saying, hey, someone talked to the agent and they didn't like the way this happened. So then we have like a feedback loop, and within the our product, since day one, we've created a thumbs up, thumbs down feedback. So every time there's a call, it's logged there and there's a feedback loop. The clinic can say up and down, and then we readjust and retrain the model based on what's the feedback loop that is happening.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
wow, that's good. I mean, it's important to know if it's you just don't want to shove down this technology down the throats. You want to make sure that it's helping. And how do you measure all these different, I guess, KPIs and ensuring that the patients are happy. And in terms of, so if I think, when I used to work in the clinical setting as an IT manager, I know that there were certain instances where we had to implement something like a callback feature, and for those who don't understand what a callback feature is simply, if I call a clinic and they have this feature implemented, you're going to hear on the phone, if you want to get a callback, press 1, right? And then you press 1 and the call hangs up, right? Some systems would take down your number, but some intelligent ones, that's it. And what it does is your call is not necessarily hung up. Again, it depends on the system. Once it's your turn in the queue, because you're waiting in the queue. Once it's your turn in the queue, it calls the secretary and it calls the patient.
Yeah, and it connects both.
Of them. And I've experimented with this before, and we would get feedback from patients to say they were happy. They were like, oh my God, you called us back, right? And so this is one of the things where a clinic can say, but Marc, I can do that, right? So if I do that, why would I really need your solution, right?
That's a good question. Can they really do that? Right now, they're not fixing this problem. And when you talk with their customers or the patients, they're not really happy about this.
Yep.
Have we found a perfect solution? No, it's a journey and will probably evolve, and we will evolve.
Yeah.
But like I was talking to a clinic a few days ago, and they're receiving so many calls. We're talking in the thousands of calls per month.
Yeah.
They're not even answering calls. Everything is going to voicemail, and they have someone picking up the voicemails and hearing every voicemail, taking notes of the demand, the note, the name of the patient, the phone number of the patient, and calling them back. Imagine how inefficient this process is.
Yes.
If, like, let's say you have 5,000 calls and it takes you 3 minutes per call, okay, to listen to the voicemail, making sure that you understood the number, the request and everything. 5,000 versus multiplied by 3, 15,000 minutes per month. This is hundreds of hours for just listening to like voicemails.
Right.
This is what's happening on the ground,
Right.
So we're like replacing slowly the infrastructure, making sure like we can solve 80% of the requests, and then the 20% is like human in the loop, and we help them fix this.
Right. Like going back to that callback feature, I guess it really solves that problem of, someone waiting on the line for too long, but your receptionist can only answer a certain number of calls in a day. right?
Exactly.
To add to your point.
You need to hire more receptionists to handle more calls. You're not fixing this volume problem.
Yes.
You're just like pushing it forward.
Exactly. Yeah, you're addressing like 1% of or 90% of the problem. But in terms of volume, you would still have a lot of calls that are not being answered. Yeah. And so I get the point where it's like, yes, you can have a callback feature and you give the patients the perception of the fact that we're calling you back. But actually, what if the patient calls and they get their answer right away because an agent?
Exactly. Or they book right away their appointment.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Is that process ongoing? You know, because I understand that might need you to be integrated into the different EMRs. Yeah. But before we get into that, so can you paint us that picture, how that could possibly work?
Yeah. So essentially right now, the agents, if you take like an agent, you create an agent off the shelf, this can be pretty easy. But the complicated part where we're going is really understanding the request and booking or modifying or doing an action. You want autonomous agents doing smart stuff, right?
Yeah.
So this is where we're heading right now. Right now, we're able to give lifetime availabilities based on the different professional within the clinic. And then what we're doing is essentially looping back this like final confirmation with a human in the loop.
Okay.
So we're still empowering the receptionist because we don't want to assume that the decision that the agent took is the right one. We want to learn with the process.
Yeah.
So right now, if someone calls and said, "Hey, I need to book a physio appointment next Tuesday," perfect. We have an availability at 1 p.m. Does it suit you? Yes, it suits me. Perfect. We'll send you a push. We'll send the clinic a push. There's a confirmation made between them, and then the loop is closed here, right?
Right.
If something happens, for example, I don't know, it's not a physio that they need an osteo or they need another professional.
Yeah.
This is where we want to learn to train the AI to be like more smart in like the kind of service with the needs that is going on.
Right. I mean, you got the wheels turning and I'm thinking, we might get a little bit more technical here, but, I'm thinking of a scenario where, a clinic that offers, maybe limited online appointments and those appointments are online, but available to the agents, not to patients, right? Which, there's more conversations to be had about that. But so someone calls the clinic and they get triage and, okay, I need an appointment for next Tuesday at 2 p.m. And the agent goes and it sees that the EMR has that availability and then it could push some sort of appointment proposal to the patient.
That's correct.
To book it and confirm.
Yeah.
And then the EMR gets the confirmation. And then the patient gets the confirmation as well that your appointment is booked.
Exactly.
And I guess that's exactly where you're headed.
We are right now there.
Amazing.
We are like already starting those discussions with EMRs. We are heading there.
Okay.
And to continue on this journey, imagine like you've booked with an agent, then everybody receives like text and sometimes they have to confirm 1 or 2 no, yes, no.
Yeah.
But like what happens is a lot of people are not answering those texts, right? So it's putting more pressure on the ops team because they're like, hey, we have 20 patients today that haven't confirmed. Yeah. We have to call them back. But do you need to call them back? No, you just train the AI. You're like, hey, every time you see that someone didn't confirm, you give him a call.
Yeah.
If he doesn't answer, you send him a text.
Right.
This is where we're heading right now, is like having this entire flow that is like human in the loop, some very boring stuff that admin don't want to do.
Yeah.
We're removing. I work daily with admin people and customer care.
Right.
Those are my buddies. They are training, they are helping me understand their day-to-day.
Right.
This is why it's super important that every time I talk with them or like we onboard a new client, I'm like, hey guys, I know you have a lot of AI fear and stuff like this, but I just want to make your job easier because you are not able to handle it by yourself, right?
Right. So I don't know if you know the concept of forward deployed engineers. And, it's something that I'm trying to understand myself fully, where you have some of your engineers actually go into the field and say, I mean, it's a popular concept now, pioneered by Palantir, right? Yeah. And I think it's genius.
It's brilliant.
And when I hear some of the guys from Palantir talk about it, they're like, we don't recommend it. But if you get it right, good for you.
Yeah.
Which is, it's weird or funny, but do you have your team, someone from your team, maybe an engineer, or maybe you're looking to get to that point where you have them go sit with the clinic? Yes, you have a workflow that you're kind of selling, but you still have them sit there and maybe watch the inflow of patients coming in, how the secretaries are answering the calls, how the secretaries are attending to the physicians,
are like running around, are stressed, and then you might have designed your things too small, but they're like running. You need bigger screen, stuff like. I love this. It's really an amazing philosophy because it puts the clinics at the center of your product, and you're thinking for them. You're not assuming for them.
Yes.
Two things here. One, before launching the product and developing one line of code, I promised myself I would not build anything without getting one, clinics paying for my service, and two, really understanding what they wanted.
Okay.
So I did the opposite of what a lot of founders do, is like, I've developed like an amazing product, but no one wants it. I did the opposite. I went literally underground, talked with clinics, and we're like, what's your problem? What are you struggling with? And this came first. So this is where we focused.
Wow.
First. Yeah.
You're lucky there, because most clinics, it's like, why are you wasting my time? Why would I talk to some random guy on the street who says they can solve a problem for me?
Because they have a problem.
Right. Exactly.
Right? So your hair is on fire and essentially I'm coming and I'm like, hey, what if I have some water here?
Yeah, right.
Would you say like, no, you know what? I'm going to think about it. No, your hair is on fire. You know, like the first clinics, like group of clinics that we closed, they're like very good. Like right now, they're like partners with us, like we've been learning a lot with them, and they were using a call center, and their call center was like weren't working.
Right. So they're using a physical call center.
Yeah.
Right. So they outsourced
they were outsourcing. They were paying thousands of dollars every month because they couldn't handle the volume. But the worst thing of this is that when the calls were being outsourced, because volume were so like important, even the call center wouldn't be able to handle the volume. So the patients were waiting like 4, 5, 7 minutes for the call center, then just to say, okay, I'm going to take your name, email, and phone number, and I'm going to send it back and someone will call you back.
Right.
In 2 weeks, we replaced this.
Right.
We saved them like 60% of cost overnight.
Amazing.
This is like you were asking about KPIs.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer for them.
Right.
And this is what we're seeing. We have several like KPIs that we're tracking. One is like patient satisfaction. The other is like ROI on like cost saving of like handling more calls, being able to handle more patients' requests, and also booking more leads, if you may, having more bookings, less no-shows. This is like direct dollars and the balance sheet at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk about this for hours, man. And, probably,
I love it. It's like, I feel it's like a brainstorm right now.
Yeah, no, it's so much fun to talk about this because I talk about it all the time. And my fiance's happy I'm not home right now and like talking to her about it. She's like, just go someplace
find your
else.
Friends.
Yes. Go talk to them. And I'm like, fine, I'll start a podcast.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. But you're the CEO of Walaw, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that one of the things that would keep you awake at night is compliance, right? Security, data privacy. You're in a very sensitive industry, or we are in a very sensitive industry. I was at the digital health conference yesterday, so we had a few, like, I think Samuel and Vincent. They were there, and a few other keynote speakers. And we were talking about the fact that, sending information, patient health information, PHI, to third parties like OpenAI and Claude or whatever backend you use it's a gray area.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure that you put your security implementations in place just to make sure that you're compliant.
100%.
But how do you go about that? If I'm a physician or a clinic owner and I'm thinking, I don't know, man. I don't know. Your product sounds great, but how are you going to solve this, or what are you doing to make sure that you're providing a compliant solution?
Yeah.
Especially because those clinic owners saying that they really don't understand fully the intricacies of what compliance actually
100%.
means. So how do you approach a conversation like that?
Yeah, so in the company, we got like an unfair advantage because two of the founders, myself and the CEO, my co-founder, were both lawyers.
Oh, man. Okay.
So we've kind of flipped the script around of like, how can we make sure that since day one, we are building something that is compliant? We don't have certification yet. We're working on this, but this is a long process. It takes like several months, but we're working on them. But we've created the infrastructure, the base infrastructure to really think in a GDPR Loi 25, so Bill 25 fashion since day one, right? So that's very important. The lucky part that also the companies, they kind of sphere where we are, we're not into like, more like medtech, super advanced scribe stuff where you really have the entire life of the patient in your hands, right? Literally, they can talk very, very personal and sensitive. We are more on the ops side.
Okay.
So this alleviates a bit the pressure or the kind of the worry about the clinics of like, we're handling like, hey, I need an appointment. I need to change an appointment. What's the opening hours? Stuff like this that is like high volume and stuff that doesn't require like, hey, give me your RAMQ number today.
Right.
Give me your, address at home today. I don't need those info. I've been training my agents to never ask this.
Yeah.
I don't want to know this,
Right.
I don't want the data to come into my network. And if it comes, it's compliant. They built 25 just to like a bit go into this.
Please.
It was kind of, the philosophy is very much based on GDPR, which is one of the most powerful, like stringent laws around the world. It's European laws. And one of their concepts, essentially, like if you think of it like philosophy of the bill, is the right to be forgotten. It's a very important concept. So it's, if I give you data, I can pull the data, right?
Yeah.
If I give you my consent, it doesn't need the consent is here forever and ever. So we have to think of a way in the system that if the patient requires that we delete their request, if we delete their numbers, they disappear from our database forever. We can't go, there's no like plan B retrieval, stuff like this. It's a loss for the clinic because they're losing in a data, a point of touch. But the patient has the right to ask for this. So this is the kind of philosophy we have to embrace. And what we want to do is not, one, of course, never sell the data to third parties. This is like not a data to be selling. And two, not retraining our agents with specific stuff that the patients are saying.
Right.
So distinction is very like subtle because we have to train the agent to be better and better, but it hasn't to be based on some specific stuff the patients are saying. Right?
Okay. I mean, I guess, I'm sure there is the possibility of, which adds some complexity to your workflow, of just having a de-identification layer that when you ingest that patient information and you can de-identify them and then you can use it to train your modules. But you're not doing that, and that's the simplest way to go about it. And so I'm sure that you have a privacy policy that you divulge to your clients. I think that's very, very important. Transparency, right?
Trust.
Yeah, you have to build that because we're all, even though we're in the field and you're a lawyer, so you have that competitive edge of understanding the legalities of being in the AI, which is, it's at its infant stage when it comes to regulation, right?
100%. There's so many things happening quickly. The regulation, they're not keeping the pace. Where there's new tech being launched every day. And it's very important that health providers test new stuff, but they test it also in a realistic and controlled way. So this is the playground we want to build. We're not saying, hey, let's do this, let's replace everybody, let's unleash all the agent. No, we're doing gradually. They're building their trust with us. They're seeing that we're handling, I had a good client sending me like kind of their KPIs, and over 3 months, they were able to handle with the same staff 30% more volume.
Wow, that's incredible.
Okay, so those are the metrics we're putting in place to help them build the trust in our system, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the patient is within the loop,
right.
But he's one of the stakeholders. Everybody got a say in this like kind of ecosystem.
Yeah, it is important to have that in place. And, at the conference I was at yesterday, I think her name is Erin Cook, Associate CEO of one of the CEOs, one of the CEOs in Montreal. And the audience had asked a question about adoption.
Yeah.
And I found it was an interesting question because her, as a leader, having someone from her staff using a tool that is not vetted by her IT team, it's like, because you can only stop your physicians or health professionals to a certain extent, they're still going to go out there and use whatever they want to use. But I understand that for yours, it's really the product that you have is at a clinic level, right? So you don't...
It's at an operational
level.
It's not integrated directly with the patient's information or the clinician or the practitioner with his or her patient.
Yeah.
So this is allowing us to not get into like some additional layer of security and trust that are required, right?
Right. And so if you can think of one or two biggest fears of your clients that you've addressed, maybe pre-implementation or during your implementation.
Yeah.
It could be maybe the AI hallucinating a lot. Yeah. So do you have any examples of...
I would say the first top of mind that comes is, but what if patients don't want to talk with an AI?
Yes, that's a simple one.
That's a simple one. Like it's kind of basic, but when you think about it, it's like, that makes sense. Like if your patients, they want to talk with AI and they're only requesting callback, you're not solving the problem.
Yeah.
But what we've seen over like several months is we got approximately today, our data shows between 10 and 15% that people, they just don't want to talk with AI. The rest, they're okay with it. They're okay because they see that there's a follow-up. And the tool that we're building, this is important because it's not just an agent. It's a software that kind of summarizes, understand the request, and creates like a unified dashboard for the secretaries or customer care representative to better manage their volume of calls. So right now, we're not just like an AI that is like, okay, just AI receiving calls. It's like unified experience.
Yeah.
So when they see that, hey, I left a message with my AI, I talked with the AI at 8, and at 9:15, I got a call back specifically saying, hey, you called for a modification of your appointment. When's the best day? They're like, hey, I got a full experience. It's working.
Yeah.
I receive a text after the call saying, we received your notification. No need to call back. Someone will take care of you. The notification it push within the clinic say, new request, new appointment, new modification.
Yeah.
Everybody's in the loop.
So how do you differentiate your technology with booking requests, right? I mean, booking requests is if you're a clinic that don't know what this is, if you have an EMR that allows for that feature where you can allow your patient to submit a request to get an appointment, right? So it's not online booking. It's online booking in a way, but you're not reserving a spot. So you can, if it's your family doctor, you go to his website and you click on his name and you can just click on submit a request and you can say, I need an appointment for XYZ reason, depending on the workflow. And then the secretary receives it in the EMR.
Yeah.
And in that sense, they don't need to go to another tool, but then they have to call back the patient and figure out what they want. Or maybe in that case, depending on the message the patient leaves, they go ahead and book the appointment.
Yeah.
What I noticed implementing this in different clinics is that patients do that and they still go and they call.
Yeah.
Because they
don't have the visibility of what's happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's an important part of what we're building is saying, hey, don't worry. Like right now, when let's say you call a Uber taxi, okay? You know exactly where the taxi is. You know when they're coming. You know who's the taxi. You know his phone number. You have his ID. You have everything. This is the level of experience that patients are requesting, not because it's within the healthcare that they're expecting another experience. They're used to the Airbnb, the Uber, mastering those customer experience.
Yeah.
But if you look at the patient's experience, we're like 20 years behind.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, my wife had an appointment within the public system. She received a text. Okay, great technology, it's working.
Yeah.
Reminder, this is a text for your tomorrow's appointment or 48 hours appointment. Please confirm 1 or cancel 2. Okay, great. She cancels because she couldn't go. So she's like, I cancel. 2 days later, she receives a call from the healthcare system. Hey, what happened? You didn't show up. So this is the kind of discrepancy where between your patient experience and your provider's experience, either he's like public or private, you're putting tools that are not connected with your system. So it's not kind of working. You're creating a false experience.
Right.
So then patients, they're like, I'm going to cancel, but I'm going to call back.
Yeah.
And if they don't answer, I'm going to leave a message and call back again. You know, that's the problem we're seeing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really interesting. And we can really dive into that quite a lot. But if I'm a clinic owner and I'm thinking of, I let my patients book online. Yeah. I let them submit booking requests. Yeah. So where does your tool fall into that?
It's fine.
Would it be complementary to those offering them? Because with some, the MSSS encourages or forces the clinics to offer some slots online.
Yeah.
I know you're solving a no-show issue. And so it's not
and missed call.
And missed call.
Yeah.
Right. And missed call. For these patients, for these clinics that use, whether it's Petal, the hub, they're connected to the hub, right? Yeah. And for people who don't understand what the hub is, it's the central system where, your EMRs are plugged into, where this Petal then takes your availabilities. So you create your availabilities in your EMR, whether it's OmniMed or Miles, you push it to the hub, and then third-party softwares like TAP, Chronometric, and all the other online appointment systems can book through. So you're giving a fair advantage to everyone.
Yeah.
So that aside, how do you navigate with, or have you started to have clients that have this setup? And because I think that's an interesting setup, slightly complex to see, okay, where does my tool fit? And is it really necessary? Because sometimes it might not be. They might not need an AI tool.
100%. This is why I was saying earlier, like sometimes you don't need AI. Sometimes you do, right?
Yeah.
All our clients, they have portals online for reservations.
Okay.
It's kind of the requirement now, right?
Yeah.
It's normal. You don't need to talk with a human being if you know that you can book the same professional and you see their availabilities. Yeah. So that's normal. Where we're tackling is the volume of people that have a question, have something that they want to discuss or an information they need in order to process the request. So that's the thing that we're solving. That's kind of like the middle ground that we're solving, right?
That's a very important distinction, because I know a lot of my clients that would probably be listening to this and thinking, does this really fit?
Yeah.
And, we're running out of time here.
It's like
we just got here, right? I was about to go for a refill for you. This is my third, so I was pacing myself. If a physician or a clinic owner is thinking about or is listening to this and they're thinking, what is the process, the onboarding process? So yes, Marc, I have the issue of high volume burnout staff in terms of reception. They can't handle all these calls. How can you, or maybe I'm looking to start a new service, a private service that I want a certain part of it filtered and answered by AI. What's the onboarding process with you? Take me through a journey, of how you're going to treat me, so what would that look like with this?
It's a great question. So what we're seeing on the market and the direction we decided to take is there's a lot of tools out there allowing professionals to create and prompt and do their own stuff directly, like themselves. We don't believe in this avenue. Why? Because healthcare providers, one, they don't want to hire extra people, technical people to like prompt and make. And two, they don't have time. We're solving a time issue. And essentially the tools are telling them, hey, take time to build your agent in order to save time. It's kind of, okay? Yeah. So the way we've took is, hey, we are offering a product as a service, meaning the journey of onboarding is around 2 weeks. The first week, we sit down with them, we understand their operations, and we kind of put a sheet or like a diagram of their operation to really understand what's going on. What's the most frequent questions? What types of services do they offer? And we're creating kind of a knowledge base for the agent, right? Coded knowledge base for them. This takes around 3 days to a week, depending on the complexity of the clinic.
Yeah.
And then the second week, the agent is live for testing for the clinics. So we ask all the staff to like call, test the agent, give us the feedback. Are they answering well? Are they liking the tone? Are they liking the pace? Are they liking the answers? Does it reflect the customer experience that they want to offer? And usually it takes a week to 2 weeks max, depending on the complexity.
Right.
And then the agent is live and their platform is connected.
That's good. I like the fact that it's not just, this is our solution, here, use it, sure, we understand how you work, but just use our solution. We have a solution, but part of it is fully understanding and then customizing our solution to fit your workflow.
Exactly.
And so we're really answering your workflow, not what worked for clinic B over 100%. There, and we're assuming that it works for you. So
there are some common traits,
of course,
between clinics, but this is where our expertise comes. And it's funny because we're building like a scalable product, but our advantage right now is sitting with them in the same room, and we are consultant. We are building their digital transformation. I believe we are kind of a consultancy with a product.
Yes.
And this is how we differentiate in the market, because they have a problem. They've been thinking about this for months or years, and we come with a solution, but we're not like, hey, this is a bottle of water, figure it out how it works. We're like, hey, we're going to put water in it. We're going to walk you through the journey. And the moment you're already working with it, you're going to see it's going to change your operations.
Right. I mean, like I said, I think we can talk so much about this, and I didn't even go through all the questions that I wanted to touch on. But I think, my most important thing today was just to shed some light on what is out there in terms of the different tools. And I think for a lot of clinics can benefit from your tool, allow them to do their due diligence or contact me. But at the same time, I think it's a conversation worth having, because you're solving a real problem and you're starting to see the impact. And, in as much as it's early stages, a lot of people say AI is still at its infant stages when it comes to adoption, seeing the results. And I fully disagree, because there's already a lot that is being done, so you took the chance, you left your lawyer career to start something like this because you truly believed in it. And, I think we need more people like you to enter the field, because then, if I'm a clinic owner and I'm talking to you and I know that, okay, you have some expertise or experience in the legal side of things, then I'm like, okay, I think this guy has more to say than just the average Joe that, whipped up something from their basement and says, hey, look, I have a new fancy software here.
Thank you so much. And it's like yourself, you've been helping clinics for years. You're the expert. They call you when they don't know how to solve a problem. And the direction now, what you're doing, essentially like crunching all this knowledge and problems and transforming it into like a product.
That's right.
That you can help them on a daily basis, right?
Yes.
Like the journey of a startup is essentially being a consultant at first and a product at later.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
This is what every day, and I don't know how much time we have left, but like I'm really enjoying this conversation with you. But what I wanted to say is that I've created a customer advisory board. So this is not very common. It's my brother-in-law who did an accelerator in San Francisco who told me about this, about a startup that did this. Every week or every 2 weeks, I meet personally with all our clients. And I ask them, what's happening? What's going on? What's not working? Please tell me, give me the feedback. And the loop is super tight. And then I put this feedback back on the tech and on the product.
Amazing.
So we're continuing this journey with them. And I have the voice of the customer coming directly. There's no filter. There's no interpretation.
Right.
And every time I'm like, guys, forget that I'm the CEO of the company. Tell me stuff that you say to your friends.
Right.
Because if you're not telling me the truth, I can't act on it.
You can't help. Amazing. Look, Marc, I'm sure that we're gonna do this again at some point.
Thank you so much,
but thanks for your time today. If anyone's interested in reaching out to you or finding out about the product, where can they reach you?
They can reach me on my email. So it's marc@walaw.io.
Okay.
If they want, you can share them.
Absolutely.
phone number or my email if they don't have it.
Yeah.
Thank you again. It was my first podcast. I really enjoyed it. I felt like in this like bubble of like brainstorming, and I could go for another hour.
Yeah, same here.
I don't know if it's the coffee or the energy here. But
maybe both, No, but it was great. It was great. I'm looking forward to a next session. But yeah, I'm gonna leave the information in the show notes, and we'll keep in touch and see what your journey is. And I'm looking. And before I have conversations like this, this is really more for the audience. Most of the times, I have tested the product, or I have spoken to people who are demoing the product, right? And in your case, we have a mutual client that we're talking to at this point in terms of them testing out the product. So I like to get behind a product that I understand what the vision is and how they're jumping through the hoops of compliance and what value proposition are they, what problem are they really solving, or are they just a new AI shiny tool? But thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
Right, thank you so much, and enjoy the startup journey as well for you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks.
All right, take care.